Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare
Dandavat Pranam.
Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prabhu ji.
Hare Hare,
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Dandavat, Hari Bol. How are you, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, fine, Prabhu.
Jai.
We just wait for a couple of minutes. Devotees join. Maybe you can just turn on your video just to check.
Yes.
Also, let me know if you want me to share the shloka.
It's there, I think, in between. If I miss something, you can.
Sure, Prabhu.
Is everything okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. All by Krishna.
Can I also see or have your darshan?
1 minute.
Hari Bol, Jai.
Hari Bol.
Jai Ho Maharaj.
Oh, please.
What a wonderful name, Ravi Lochan. Wow.
Prabhu.
How's family, Prabhuji?
Everybody is right, Prabhu. All Krishna's mercy, devotees' mercy going well.
Jai.
Prabhu, I've just started on Zoom as well. Yes, I've already started on Zoom. So I think we can get started, Prabhu. Maybe, so before that, let me do a quick round of introduction. Hare Krishna, just 1 minute, Prabhu. I'll put you on now. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya on a Saturday morning, on a Christmas Eve, in a holiday mood everybody is in. Today we have the special, I would say, real pleasure of having our His Grace Raghuveer Krishna Prabhu. He'll be covering Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, verses 49 through 51. The topic would be, Does Paramatma exist? So, Prabhu, over to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna. First of all, my sincere thanks, Prabhuji, to the temple management and to all the senior Vaishnavas who have given me this chance, second chance, like a Jamil, to serve you all. My dandavats to each one of you. And with Prabhupada mercy, we will start. Yes, today is, we are also celebrating Christmas.
Hari Bol.
So, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrand ki jai, Sab Ikhatte Bhakton ki jai. Hare Krishna. So reading from, I will share the screen, Prabhuji. Just see if it comes.
Yes, Prabhu. You are a co-host. Yes, Prabhu, we can.
Is okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, I was informed that two shlokas I have to cover, and then we will go to today's shloka of 428:49. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 428:49. So, I'll quickly go through, and then 51 we will take in detail. Evam vilpanti bala vipine anugata patim patita padayor bhartu rudatya ashunya vartayat. Translation by His Great Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The most obedient wife thus fell down at the feet of her dead husband and began to cry pitifully in that solitary forest. Thus the tears rolled down from her eyes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just as a devoted wife becomes afflicted at the passing of her husband, when a spiritual master passes away, the disciple becomes similarly bereaved. 428:50. Chintim darumayim chitva tasyam patyo kalevaram adipya chanumarane vilpanti manodadhe. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. She then prepared a blazing fire with firewood and placed the dead body of her husband upon it. When this was finished, she lamented severely and prepared herself to perish in the fire with her husband. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is the long-standing tradition of the Vedic system that a faithful wife dies along with her husband. This is called Sahamarana. In India, this system was prevalent even to the date of British occupation. At that time, however, a wife who did not wish to die with her husband was sometimes forced to do so by her relatives. Formerly, that was not the case. The wife used to enter the fire voluntarily. The British government stopped this practice, considering it inhuman. However, from the early history of India, we find that when Maharaj Pandu died, he was survived by two wives, Madri and Kunti. The question was whether both should die or one should die. After the death of Maharaj Pandu, his wives settled that one should remain and the other should go. Madri would perish with her husband in the fire, and Kunti would remain to take charge of the five Pandava children. Even as late as 1936, we saw a devoted wife voluntarily enter the fire of her husband. This indicates that a devotee's wife must be prepared to act in such a way. Similarly, a devoted disciple of the spiritual master would rather die with the spiritual master than fail to execute the spiritual master's mission. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes down upon this earth to re-establish the principles of religion, so his representative, the spiritual master, also comes to re-establish religious principles. It is the duty of the disciples to take charge of the mission of the spiritual master and execute it properly. Otherwise, the disciple should decide to die along with the spiritual master. In other words, to execute the will of the spiritual master, the disciple should be prepared to lay down his life and abandon all personal considerations. And now today's verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 428:51. Tatra purva tarah kaschet sakha brahmana atmavan santavyan valguna samna tamaha rudatim prabho. Synonyms: Tatra, in that place, Purvataraha, previous, Kaschit, someone, Sakha, friend, Brahmanaha, a Brahman, Atmavan, very learned scholar, Santavyan, pacifying, Valguna, by very nice, Samna, mitigating words, Tam, unto her, Ah, he said, Rudatim, while she was crying, Prabho, my dear king. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear king, one Brahmana who was an old friend of King Puranjan came to that place and began to pacify the queen with sweet words. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The appearance of an old friend in the form of a Brahmana is very significant. In his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. According to Vedic injunction, Krishna is sitting with the living entity side by side, according to Shruti mantra, Dvasuparna Sayujya Sakhyaha. The Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity as Suhrit, the best friend. The Lord is always eager to have the living entity come home back to Godhead. Sitting with the living entity as witness, the Lord gives him all chances to enjoy himself materially. But whenever there is opportunity, the Lord gives good counsel and advises the living entity to abandon trying to become happy through material adjustment and instead turn his face towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto Him. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained before, this means meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the instruction of the spiritual master. This is technically called Vani Seva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states in his Bhagavad Gita commentary on the verse Vyavasatmika Buddhir Ekah Kurunandanha Bhagavad Gita 2.41 that one should serve the words of the spiritual master. One should serve the words of the spiritual master. The disciple must stick to whatever the spiritual master orders. Simply by following on that line, one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply by following on that line, one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, appeared before the queen as Brahmana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, appeared before the queen as Brahmana. But why didn't he appear in his original form as Sri Krishna? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that unless one is very highly elevated in loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot see him as he is. Nonetheless, if one sticks to the principles enunciated by the spiritual master, somehow or other, he is in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Lord is in the heart, he can advise a sincere disciple from within. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. In conclusion, if a disciple is very serious to execute the mission of the spiritual master, he immediately associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Vani or Vapu. In 428.52, Prabhupada also writes, the Paramatma is always the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within, and he comes before one externally as the instructor and initiator spiritual master. This is the only secret of success in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead of being eager to see the Lord in some bush of Vrindavan, while at the same time engaging in sense gratification, if one sticks to the principles of following the words of the spiritual master, he will see the Lord without difficulty. Srila Bilvamangal Thakur has therefore said, Bhaktis tvai sthitara Bhagavan yadi syad daive nanah phalati divya kishora murti mukti swayam mukula tilanjali sevate sman dharmartha kama gatayaha samaya pratiksha. If I am engaged in the devotional service unto you, my dear Lord, then very easily can I perceive your presence everywhere. And as far as liberation is concerned, I think that liberation stands at my door with folded hands, waiting to serve me. And all material conveniences of dharma, religiosity, earth, economic development, and calm sense gratification stand with her. Krishna Karanamrit 107. If one is very highly advanced in devotional service, he will have no difficulty in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one engages in the service of the spiritual master, he not only sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead but attains liberation. As far as material conveniences are concerned, they automatically come, just as the maid servants of a queen follow the queen wherever she goes. Liberation is no problem for the pure devotee, and all the material conveniences are simply awaiting him at all stages of life. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshunmitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Roop Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatvam Ham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanand Madhavam ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, सब इकट्ठे भक्तों की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis. So we go back to the translation 428:51, and here, my dear king, one Brahmana. So we know that King Puranjan, he took, after he left his body, after enjoying life, and because he was thinking all the time of his wife, he got the body of a lady, and he was born as the daughter of King Vidarbha, and she was Vidarbhi, and she got married to Malyadhwaj. Before these verses, King Malyadhwaj has passed away, and as a chaste wife, she has been following her husband as guru, and now she does not know what to do. And at that point in time, Parikshit Maharaj is told by Shukdev Goswami, my dear king, one Brahmana who was an old friend of King Puranjan came to that place and began to pacify the queen with sweet words. And then Prabhupada writes, so I will go to the highlighted sentences, what Prabhupada is writing in his purport. So first, Krishna, he is telling that in his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. And he is also telling that Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity as Suhrit, the best friend. Then he is also telling that the disciple must stick to the spiritual orders, and simply by following that, one can see Krishna. Of course, Bali Maharaj Shukrachar is an exception there, because the spiritual master was not truly the spiritual master. He was not following the scriptures, and he gave the instructions to Bali Maharaj opposite of the scripture. So therefore that's an exception, but the disciple must stick to what the spiritual master orders. Then the purport, Srila Prabhupada also write, Paramatma appeared before the queen as Brahmana. Paramatma only appeared. Then Prabhupada also writes that principles enunciated by spiritual master, somehow or other, he's, by following the principles enunciated, he's in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also, Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Paramatma is always the Chaitya Guru sitting inside, the spiritual master within, and he comes before one externally as the instructor and the initiator, spiritual master. So Paramatma only comes as the spiritual master externally, and internally he is the Chaitya Guru. Prabhupada also writes, following the words of the spiritual master, one will see Supreme Lord without difficulty. So today we will see the jewels of Srila Prabhupada's purports, and many times the doubt comes, is it like this or is it not like that? So we will try to go deep into the purport and see how everything has been scientifically and logically and with Vigyan Srila Prabhupada has put forth for us. So let's take the highlighted statements of Srila Prabhupada purports and then we will go into detail. So first is, in his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. Then Prabhupada writes, Paramatma is always the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within, and he comes before one externally as the instructor and initiator spiritual master. So let us dwell into Srila Prabhupada's purports. So first question is, Prabhupada is saying, in his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. In his Paramatma feature. So the first question is, does Paramatma exist? Then only he will come as the spiritual master. And if he exists, what is the proof that Paramatma exists? Prabhupada says meaning 24 karat gold. But he's saying there is a Paramatma feature. But there must be a basis on which this has been said that there is Paramatma. What is the proof? See, the spiritual master we can see. Very easy to see and believe. But Paramatma we are not able to see. So is there any proof that Paramatma exists? And also we have to see, Prabhupada is writing that the Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend, meaning Krishna has only become Paramatma feature. So how do we know that Krishna only is the Paramatma feature? Another question. So first is, does Paramatma exist? If we prove that Paramatma exists, then what is the proof? How do we know that Krishna only has become Paramatma? There must be some authority saying this. Let us see the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.235. Does Paramatma exist? This is the answer to the question of people that does Paramatma exist? Does Krishna exist? This is a scientific and logical proof available in Srimad Bhagavatam that Paramatma exists. Krishna only becomes Paramatma. Let us see how it is proven. This Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu Lakshitaha Swatmana Harihi. Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu Lakshitaha Swatmana Harihi. Drashyer Buddhi Adibhir Drashta Lakshaner Anumapakay. See, beautiful verse. Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu, in all the living entities. Lakshita, in every living entity. Paramatma we know is there in every living entity. Here is a proof that Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu, he is there in all the living entities. Lakshita, he is visible. Swatmanaha, along with the self. Harihi. So the Paramatma is visible in every living entity along with the self. How? Drashyer, by what is seen. Buddhi adhibhir, by intelligence. Drashta, one who sees. Lakshaner anumapikeh, by hypothesis and by evidence, one can prove that Paramatma exists. Translation, see beautiful translation by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is in every living being along along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Simply because there is a direction available to us, to our intelligence, that is the proof that there is someone sitting inside us. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhagavatam is telling us that because the soul who is sitting inside, first of all, the soul is seeing whatever is there outside. See, the soul actually sitting inside the body cannot see all these things. First of all these things, they themselves are there, but they cannot be seen simply just by the soul. That is one. Second is, every time a decision is being taken, there is a direction available. We are taking help from the superior intelligence. That Bhagavatam says is a proof that is from Paramatma. That direction is being given by Paramatma. So Krishna is inside this body, can be realized by the soul through intelligence direction it receives, and by soul having senses dead matter and still be able to see the world. See what Prabhupada writes beautifully in the purport. This is to prove that Krishna is the Paramatma sitting inside the soul. And hence one statement by Prabhupada. So drashya, by act of seeing the creation. So someone has supplied the soul the tools to see the matter. Otherwise, this soul is sitting inside dead matter. How come it is able to see? Prabhupada writes, now by a little use of intelligence, we can also readily agree that the living being who sees the things beyond himself by no ordinary vision has no power to see or to move independently. All our ordinary actions and perceptions depend on various forms of energy supplied to us by nature in various combinations. Our senses of perception, eyes, etc., and of action are supplied to us by various arrangements of gross and subtle forms of natural energy. So first of all, Paramatma sitting inside has made this arrangement that with the help of all the senses which are given, the soul is able to see something which is temporary. First proof that Paramatma exists. And then second is that someone is directing this soul sitting inside, directing intelligence. Intelligence is being given. Do this, don't do this. Do this, don't do this. Prabhupada writes, he can perceive that the intelligence is the form direction of the Paramatma plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. Thoughts are also coming from someone and somewhere. So if somebody says, can you generate, Prabhuji, your own thoughts? Anybody who can generate, can I say, I will now think like this? It's not possible. Somebody is there who is directing me that think like this and think like this. Various options are being given. That is the circumstantial evidence. That is the evidence that there is Paramatma sitting inside the body along with the individual soul. And therefore, that is the proof that Paramatma exists. And therefore, Prabhupada writes in his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. We will see one by one how, what is Prabhupada writing in this purport. Each statement is backed by full Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Each statement. So the statement itself is Bhagavatam. So here is the proof. If anybody has doubt, anybody says, how do you know there is Paramatma sitting inside? So there are two answers to that. Number one, that sitting inside, he is directing, the Paramatma is giving the direction to the intelligence. And that is everybody's experience. Nobody can say, I have no direction. Nobody can say. Even animals have direction for eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. So there is a direction. Do this, do that. That is the proof that Paramatma exists. And second, that even though the soul, you see, the soul can only see everything spiritual, but the soul is able to see all this matter. How come? That is another proof that sitting inside Paramatma is giving the various energies, Bhumi Rapo Anal Vayu, Khangman Buddhi Revacha, all these energies which are, and the eyes and all these which are functioning, is because Paramatma is sitting, and therefore the soul, even though trapped inside, can see. So here is a proof that Paramatma exists. So this is looking for Prabhupada's jewels in the purport. Here is one proof. So when Prabhupada says that in his Paramatma feature, he is the Chaitya Guru, this is the meaning of the Chaitya Guru sitting inside. This is what he is doing. Of course, he is giving the instructions from his side. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam says in 2-35, that he is giving that. Okay, now somebody can say, let's moving on. Understood, Paramatma is there, accepted. You cannot refute the proof which is given. So accepted, Paramatma is there. But how do I know that is only Krishna? Maybe somebody else. How can I know that Krishna only is Paramatma? Because Prabhupada is writing in his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend, meaning Krishna only has become Paramatma. But how do I know this? Is there any evidence available? Now let's see Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Krishna told Arjun, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. Tesham satata yuktanam. Those who are satata, always engaged in what? Bhajatam priti purvakam. Those who are always worshipping me. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. See here, translation by Prabhupada is written as real intelligence, dadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mam upayanti te, by which they come to me. So the first verse said that the Paramatma gives the direction to the intelligence. It gives the intelligence, therefore proven that Paramatma is there. But Krishna is telling, I am the one who is giving the intelligence, Baba, dadami buddhi yogam tam. So isn't it that only the same person can give the same? Krishna is telling, I am giving intelligence. And there, Paramatma, it says, in the first verse, it says that Paramatma is giving the intelligence direction. So Krishna is giving the intelligence direction, and Paramatma is giving intelligence direction. Therefore, Krishna is only appearing as Paramatma. So this is a circumstantial evidence, and Krishna himself told. Also, therefore, no doubt that Krishna only is the Paramatma. See, Bhagavad Gita again reconfirms that Paramatma is there, and it is Krishna only as Paramatma. See, very beautifully. Again, one more proof. Ishwar sarva bhutanam riddhese arjun tishtati. ईश्वर सर्वभूतानां हृदय से अर्जुन तिष्ठति ब्राह्मयन् सर्वभूतानि यंत्रारूढ़ानि मायया. So Krishna is telling Arjun, Ishwar sarvabhutanam. Ishwar is there in every living entity. Hridde se Arjun tishtati. I am sitting inside. Ishwar is sitting inside. He is not so far said, I am sitting. Okay. Ishwar is sitting inside in everybody's living entity. That's what he says. And that is proven that he is Paramatma. We just saw in Srimad Bhagavatam that Paramatma exists and how he gives the intelligence direction. Here he reconfirms that Ishwar is sitting inside. But how do we know which Ishwar is sitting? Interesting, isn't it? Ishwar Sarvbhutanam. ठीक है, maybe some other Ishwar is sitting inside Paramatma, not Krishna. But no. Krishna confirms in 15:15. Krishna is only Paramatma. Sarvasya cha aham. Hriday sannivishto. I am only sitting inside the heart. There is no tinge of any doubt. Sarvasya cha aham, in sarvasya, in everybody, cha aham, I am. Hridi, in the heart, sannivishto, I am sitting inside everybody's heart. Mattah smrtir jnanam aponam cha. Again, same thing. Why this is troubling me? Mattah smrtir jnanam. Again, same thing. Smrti and jnana is coming from me, meaning intelligence, direction. Everything is linked. Prabhupada, one statement, full Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Sarvasya chaham. So therefore, it is proven that Paramatma exists. It is proven that he exists in every living entity. It is also proven that he gives the intelligence and the direction, not by mere words, by our own. We can ask this question ourselves. And also he confirms here that I am the one who is sitting, and from me only the remembrance and forgetfulness is coming. Smritir jnanam aponam cha. From me only. Smriti jnanam can only come when somebody is giving the direction, intelligence direction. So hence proved QED. I know I did science only in 10th class. But Prabhupada made sure that the science is available till now. So therefore, one statement which Prabhupada said is backed up by entire Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So this same conclusion is therefore drawn in Srimad Bhagavatam again in 1.2.1.1. Vadanti tat tatvida tatvam yadgyanam advayam brahmeti parmatmeti bhagavaniti shabdate. Vadanti tat. Vadanti meaning they say. Tat, that. What? Who say? Who says? Tattva vidaha. Those who know this information, like Srila Prabhupada, they say, Tattvam yat jnanam advayam. They tell that the absolute truth appears in three features. What are those? Brahmeti, that is Brahma. Paramatmeti, as Paramatma. Bhagavan iti shabdate, as Bhagavan. So we can see that Prabhupada's statement that Paramatma is Krishna and he is the best friend. We will see further now how each statement of Prabhupada has having the entire Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in that. So hence we have concluded Krishna is the Paramatma in the body, sitting along with the soul, and Krishna is Paramatma. That so far we have done, because Prabhupada made one statement that the soul, Paramatma, only appears as spiritual master. That also we will see, and is sitting along with the soul as Suruhit. Now again the question can come, and this is again Srila Prabhupada explains. Okay, agreed. Inside Paramatma is sitting. He is Krishna, understood. Now, but how do I know that soul is also sitting? I know it's very elementary. You all are elevated souls, but just for taking some rust out of it. So is there a proof that soul exists? Any proof is there? Soul exists? By logic, again, this can be proven. Actually speaking, everybody believes in reincarnation. 100% of the population. We will see it in a minute. They may not accept it. So soul exists. So what is the logical proof? So see what happens when I was 10 years old. My 5 years old body died, but I remained. When I am 20, 10 years old body died or changed or transformed, I remained. When I was 25, the earlier one died. When I am 50, the earlier bodies died and changed, but I remained. So by this logic, at 5 I was there, 10 I was there, 25 I was there, 50 I am there. Suppose if one reaches 100, of course, very difficult nowadays. Nowadays, 100 what? Half century itself is a big achievement. So by this logic, if the body goes at 100, I should remain. Isn't it? At the age of 5, I am there, 10, 20, every time the body is only changing. So therefore, soul is also. So that substance which remains is called soul, which is the Mamevanshu, Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So therefore, one statement of Prabhupada that Paramatma comes as the spiritual master, Paramatma is sitting as Suhrit next to the soul. So we have seen the soul exists, we have seen Paramatma exists. Now let us, and Paramatma is none other than Krishna himself. Let us now move ahead. Today we are seeing the time. क्या हो गया? Okay, 7:10. Another 20 minutes. So Prabhupada has made certain statements, and today we are seeing that how entire Bhagavatam Prabhupada puts into one statement, and there is no question of any doubt or anything. Everything is being proven logically, scientifically. So we have concluded Krishna is there as Paramatma in everybody. There is no doubt about that. We also concluded soul is there in everybody. Now next Prabhupada is saying the Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity as Suhrit, the best friend. This is just the copy paste Prabhuji's Mataji's of the purport. So that, just to summarize. Now next Prabhupada is saying that not only this, Paramatma is sitting in the heart of every living entity as Suhrit, the best friend. Now, how do I believe that he is my Suhrit, the best friend? Has Krishna said this? Has he accepted this? Or only just I am thinking he is my... There must be some confirmation by Lord Krishna himself. Then only, because Paramatma is Krishna. So therefore Krishna should accept this, right? Otherwise, how do I know he is the Suhrit? Well, I know that Krishna was a friend of Arjun. That much I know. I have serious doubt about myself. But this is one thing to say Krishna was friend of Arjun. It's another thing to say that he is friend. Suhrit means intimate friend. That he is the friend of everyone. Has he ever said this? Okay, if he says, then I have reason to accept it. But let's see. See, Arjun. So today what we are doing is we are taking Srila Prabhupada purport and we are seeing how it is backed up by entire Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So now we are saying Prabhupada said that he is the Suhrit of everyone. Let us see how is it. But Krishna was definitely friend of Arjun, and he told him also in many verses. One verse is here, 1865, Man mana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me man mana mad bhav mad bhakto. मुझ में मन लगाओ, thinking of me. Mad yaji, become my devotee. Mam namaskuru, pay obeisances to me. Mam ev eshyasi, you will definitely come to me. Satyam te, this is truth. Pratijani, you should know. I promise. Why? Priyosi me. Because you are my dear friend. Priya asi me. Because always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this. Because you are my dear friend. Now you see, Krishna is very chalu. He is saying, because you are my dear friend, then only you will come to me. If I am not his dear friend, mera to chance chala gaya na. So he is saying, first think of me, 1. Become my devotee, 2. Worship me, 3. Offer homage to me, 3. Huh? Thus you will come to me, I promise. Why? Because you are my dear friend. But Prabhupada is saying he is Suhrit of everyone. So I would like to know from Krishna, Prabhuji, Krishna, please tell that you are dear friend of mine also. Then this shloka holds good for me also. Otherwise, I am in trouble. So Krishna confirms he is friend of all. Fortunately, he has done that. So we have hope. So Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam. Suhrit. Prabhupada has used this word. He is Suhrit of all. Suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati bhoktaram yagya tapsam. I am the bhokta, beneficiary of all the yagyas, of all sacrifices. Number one. Number two, Sarvalok Maheshwaram. I am the topmost. Sarvalok Maheshwaram. Not just Maheshwaram, Sarvalok Maheshwaram. And then Suhridam, Sarvabhutana. See the translation by Prabhupada. Suhridam. Prabhupada is writing intimate friend, right? What is he saying? The supreme and the benefactor of the and the well-wisher. He is the Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the most intimate friend of everybody. Krishna confirms in 5.29. So therefore, now we can conclude that so we have concluded that Prabhupada's statement that he is the Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, Krishna himself has confirmed. Let's move on to the next now. Prabhupada is saying Paramatma is always the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within. And he comes before one externally as the instructor and initiator, spiritual master. He's saying the same personality comes out. Paramatma feature is the 8 inches inside that, which the yogis are. Bhagavatam tells us, Bhagavad Gita tells us. This we can see in this case. So how do we know that Paramatma only comes out? This is the next point. Prabhupada is writing that the Paramatma only, in this part above earlier also he said that the Brahmana came and he tells, and Brahmana is none other than, we know from Bhagavatam, he is none other than the Paramatma, the old benefactor, the old friend of Puranjan. He has comes and he says, do you know I am this? Do you remember me? So why the spiritual master is same as Paramatma? Another question. Why Prabhupada is saying this is because Paramatma and the spiritual master, they preach the same message and the goal and the result is also the same. Therefore, Prabhupada mentions like this. Another interesting point. See, in the next verse, I will not dwell into that, but there is something very interesting. This Brahmana who has come, now you see Puranjana in his lady form, her husband has passed away, Malyadhwaj has passed away of Vidarbhi, and in Puranjan also Paramatma is there. Now that Paramatma has appeared as Brahmana, and he is saying, do you remember me? I am your old friend. This is all. This is that present verse. But in the next verse, the same Brahmana, the Paramatma, inquires, who are you? Whose wife or daughter are you? Who is this man lying here? He's asking his details. It appears you are lamenting for this dead body. Don't you recognize me? I am your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you have consulted me. Something very interesting in this. The Brahmana is saying, I am your eternal friend. Isn't it? I am your eternal friend. And don't you remember many times you have even consulted me? Then why he is asking, who are you? He should know, na? Who are you? Whose wife, daughter? Why all this introduction is required? He is an eternal friend. He should not be asking all this. But you see, why he is asking is, he is actually asking, who are you? Meaning, you are not this body, my dear. You are the soul. He is reminding. He is not asking for his own knowledge. Paramatma knows everything. He is reminding Puranjana that, my dear, you are, who are you? Do you please, and please don't think you are this, earlier you were Puranjan, now you are this lady, Vedarbhi. That is not, whose wife or daughter are you? That is why he's asking, who are you? He's not asking, what is your introduction? He knows. Okay. See, very interesting in this thing is that this is the only episode perhaps in Srimad Bhagavatam where Prachina Bharisat, after telling this entire Puranjan Katha, he asks, you understood this Katha, this allegory? Ye Katha samajh mein aa gayi? He is the only one, despite being told by Narad Muni, he said, nahi samajh mein aaya. This is the true disciple. जब तक समझ में नहीं आया, नहीं आया. Please. I'm not, he says, this is, I can't understand this. And then Naradji explains the details of this katha again. But once he understands, he goes. So this is the reason. So far the secrets of Prabhupada purport we are seeing are Paramatma is there, confirmed. We are recap. Paramatma is Krishna, confirmed. Soul is there along with Paramatma, confirmed. Paramatma is the best friend of every living entity, confirmed by Krishna himself, because Paramatma is Krishna, Krishna confirmed, not just Arjun, for all of us. Now let us see further purport. Prabhupada says, nonetheless, if one sticks to the principles enunciated by the spiritual master, somehow or other he is in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 1. Principles enunciated by spiritual master. So to associate with Krishna, what one has to do? Following the words of the spiritual master, he will see the Supreme Lord without difficulty. So if one wants association of Supreme Personality of Godhead, if one wants to see Krishna without difficulty, follow words of spiritual masters. Prabhupada's words. But this is backed up by entire Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Let us see. So following the words of the spiritual master. So we are now dwelling deeper into the purports given by Srila Prabhupada, and we are saying that each statement, how it is backed up by entire Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Following the words of spiritual master, he will see the Supreme Lord without difficulty. Then it becomes very curious thing. Arey, what are the words? Abhi bhi batao bhai. If I know the words of spiritual master, I can also see Supreme Lord. Simple na? Prabhupada is saying. And this must be backed by some examples. And what are the words to reach, to see Krishna? That is what Prabhupada is pushing. So let us see. What are the principles enunciated by the spiritual master? And what are the words of the spiritual master? Okay. Abhi, which spiritual master we should see and follow? There are so many spiritual masters are there. Everybody is master. If Bali Maharaj had to follow Shukracharya's words, what would have happened? See, it's very interesting in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigam kalpataroor galitam phalam shuk mukhad amrit dravya samyutam pivad bhagavatam rasamalayam muhur aho rasika bhovi bhavuka. It is Nigam kalpataror. Veda ka jo tree hai. Galitam phalam. It's the ripened fruit. Shuk mukhad amrit dravya samyutam. It has come out from Shukdev Goswami. It's become sweeter. And amrit dravya samyutam. See, some people in old age, some people don't have teeth. So Bhagavatam tells, don't worry. It is dravya samyutam. It is semi-solid. You don't need teeth. You just take it in mouth and enjoy the ras. Pibat Bhagavatam rasamalayam. You see the South Indian famous dish, rasam? This is also coming from Bhagavatam. So when we are having rasam, we can remember Pibat rasam Bhagavatam. Pibat rasamalayam. Bhagavatam is full of rasa. Muhur aho, or lao. Jaise I remember a fantastic rasam made in ISKCON Bangalore. So when we are having prasam, Prabhuji, thoda rasam or lao. Muhur aho, bring more, aniyor. Rasika bhuvi bhavuka. But khane wale ko bhook honi chahiye. See, one person can get all the 56 bhog readily in front of him or her. But if hunger is not there, sorry, you can't eat. So therefore, this is like this. So which spiritual master word should we see and follow? Very difficult question, isn't it? But Bhagavatam solves for it. Bhagavad Gita solves everything for us. And that's why Prabhupada says, words of spiritual master will make you see Krishna. Which spiritual master? Let's take some example. So should we not ask the supreme spiritual master of the saints and devotees? Number one. Should we not ask from Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru? Who is the ultimate supreme master? See what his words are. हमें पता पड़ गया words का तो हमारा भी कुछ काम हो जाएगा शायद भगवान कृपा करेंगे. What are his words? We should try to find. So what are the words? Now in this case, see what is the situation. Malyadhwaj has passed away. Malyadhwaj was very pious person. So can we relate this to a spiritual master who was giving the words at the time or of passing away of somebody? Any guesses? So in Bhagavatam, there is one Param Guru who gave the words of spiritual of his own to a person who was about to die, and that is Shukdev Goswami Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj, he told, what did he? Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami when he arrived. See, here also Brahmana has arrived on its own. Puranjan, Vedarbhi has not called for anybody. He came. Similarly here also. Similarly for Dhruv Maharaj also, Naradji came. For Prahlad also, Prahlad never asked that my mother you take care. He came. Paramatma comes as spiritual guru. So many proofs. So Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami, Ataha prichami samsiddhim. Ataha prichami. Ataha, therefore. Prichami, I ask you. Samsiddhim. Way of perfection. Siddhi ka perfection. Why I am asking you? Yogi nam paramam gurum. आप छोटा मोटा गुरु नहीं है भाई. You are yoginam paramam gurum. You are the ultimate gurus of all the devotees. Please tell what? Purushasya, of the human being, in this life of the Purush, yat karyam, what one should do. Mriyamanasya sarvatha. Mriyamanasya marne wala hai, going to die. Sarvatha, always. What should a dying person do? He asked the Shukdev Goswami. So you see here, he is asking Paramam Gurum. So let us see Param Guru Shukdev Goswami's, what are his words? If we follow this, Prabhupada writes, if you follow the words of the spiritual master, you will see Krishna. So what are his words? Let us see what are his words. So 215, Fulcrum of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasmat Bharat Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishwaro Harihi Shrotavyah Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Icchatabhayam Tasmat. Therefore, Sarvatma Bharat Sarvatma, He Rajan, Bhagavan Ishwaro Hari. He is the stealer of all the miseries. Harihi. What one should do? These are the words of Yoginam Paramam Gurum. Here, Yoginam Paramam Gurum. These are the words of the supreme guru of the devotees. What are his words? Shrotavyah. One should hear. Shrotavyah. Kirtitavyascha. One should do kirtan. Nam Gungan. Kirtitavyascha. Smartavyascha. Remembering. Cha Icchata Abhayam. If one wants fearlessness from birth, old age, disease and death, one should do three things. Prabhupada ka ek statement khali hai. That by listening and following words of the spiritual master, one can see Krishna. Here is the words of spiritual master. Shrotavya, sunna chahiye. Kirtitavyascha, kirti gan, gungan karna chahiye. Smartavyascha. See smartavyascha. Either smartavyascha, remembrance. If you drop the sa of Krishna, then martavyascha. Then fir kuch nahi hai, fir maro. So these are the words of the spiritual master. These words, but interestingly, okay, now in this case we know that what happened to Shukdev Goswami, and he attained Golok Vrindavan, and of course he was. So he went back by the listening the words of his spiritual master. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, by following words, he Shrotavya, he did Shrotavya, Kirtitavyascha, he was doing Kirtitavyascha also, and Smartavyascha, wo to completely. In the end, actually, he said, thank you, sir. I would like to now meditate on Krishna. That's the last he does. So he did all the three, and we know the result. He went back, BTG. Now, something very interesting, but this guru is telling this, but there is one another guru, Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. How much time is there? My God. 1 minute. Prabhuji, how much time? I think, can I have another 5 minutes, please?
Sure, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So, but Krishna told 330. What did he say? Mai sarvani karmani sannyasa chetasa nirashira nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigata jvara. He said, भैया ये बैठ के तुम श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्य स्मर्तव्य ठीक है, वो बाद में बताया है. But starting, what did he tell? Yuddhasva vigata jvara. Arey, get up and fight, my dear. But sorry, Shukdev Goswami did not say to Parikshit Maharaj, निराशीर निर्ममो भूत्वा युद्धस्व विगत ज्वरा, उठो और फाइट करो यार, तुम कहां बैठ गए यहाँ. And neither was Arjun told श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्य स्मर्तव्य चिताव्यम, आराम से बैठो, श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्य स्मर्तव्य. Both are gurus. Which one to accept, which one not to accept? So Prabhupada writes many places, sthane sthita manugatan. Instruction is as per time, place, circumstance. But one thing is common in both. Whether you fight for Krishna, because he says, Mai sarvani karmani, you do work for me. When you do work for Krishna, you will associate. When you do shrotavya, kirtitavya, smartavya, you will associate with Krishna. Therefore, both instructions are identical as per time, place, and circumstances. So far we have seen the secrets of Prabhupada, but our Paramatma is there. Paramatma is Krishna. Soul is there along with Paramatma. Paramatma is the best friend of every living entity. Paramatma comes as a spiritual master, as both preach the same message and both take us to the same destination. What are the words of spiritual master? By seeing, by following which we can see Krishna. We have seen what are the words of Shukdev Goswami and Lord Krishna. Lastly, results of following spiritual master. What are the examples here that in Bhagavatam where devotees followed the words of spiritual master and saw Krishna? First of all, here itself, this katha, King Prachina Bhari instructed by Naradji. So, after Naradji, I will not read it. Time is of the essence. So, Prachina Bhari Sat, he was instructed by Naradji while his 10 sons were doing penance underwater as per the another guru, Lord Shiva. Naradji as guru came to Prachina Bhari and saying, because he was doing fruitive sacrifices, and he told this katha, and after that he said, I have not understood. Naradji again repeated the meaning of this katha, and after that what did he do? Having undergone, okay, so what did he do? He, in the presence of his ministers, Prachina Bhari, Abhi Prachetas have not come back. The saintly King Prachina Bhari left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities. And what happened? He attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here is a proof what Prabhupada is writing. By following words of spiritual master, one can see Krishna. This is what happened to King Prachina Bhari, while the Prachetas were still yet to come back. What happened to Arjun when he followed? What happened is Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra. So when we follow Krishna's, of course, Manmana Mad Bhakta, but this also, Tatra Shri Vijayo, there is victory. Victory. What kind of victory? Victory over birth, old age, disease and death. Bhutir, there is exceptional power. We can see Srila Prabhupada, exceptional power. Dhruva, certainly. Niti, morality. Matir Mama, that is what happens. Another example, what happens when we follow the words of spiritual master. Okay. So now, Srila Prabhupada was instructed by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, and we can see the result, and this is continuing. So let us see the summary. Paramatma is there. Paramatma is Krishna. Soul is there along with Paramatma. Paramatma is the best friend of every living entity. Paramatma comes as spiritual master, as both preach the same message and both take us to the same destination. What are the words of spiritual master? That we have seen the examples, and what happens, we have seen the example. You go back to BTG, you see For example, Dhruva also same thing. Results of following spiritual master words, examples also seen. And all these words are told to us by Srila Prabhupada for us to follow. Words to be followed, same whatever we have said. And the result will be that we can think of, that if we follow the words of Srila Prabhupada, then what the result will be basis all the examples quoted. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavats. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I mean, you made it like, like a typical mathematics teacher. It's a theorem, how proof, everything is done. You connected everything so beautifully. I mean, it's totally, I mean, you made a compact thing right from Paramatma. Who is Paramatma? Paramatma exists. How being a friend, Atma being there, as spiritual master, how he comes from Chaitya Guru, and what we should follow, everything. Prabhu, thank you so much. And we would like to have more of your association. Let me ask a question. This part is of understanding is one part, but why does it not strike me and I'm able to apply it on a day-to-day basis? How do I do that? So before I give it to open to others for question, I had this first question to ask.
पहले मैं तो समझ लूं. Now, see, whatever is given Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is all experiences of different devotees. We also have our experiences. There is no one in this world whose answers have not been answered by Paramatma. That experience we have. And to see that what you are saying is that how to know that this is happening to me and the progress is happening. So that one Vaishnava used to tell that, if we rent an old apartment and then we pay rent and go inside, and if the apartment is not operational, say for 6 months, and when you open the tap, there is a lot of khukas, lot of garbage will come out. But when you leave the tap open, after some time, the fresh water comes. So each one of us, we can see how much garbage was earlier coming out, how much is remaining now. That is another proof of what is written here. I hope it answers, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, sort of. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Devotees, I've just unmuted the line, so I've just unmuted your line, so you could actually, if possible, you can also press video. You can start your video and enable that as well, so Prabhu can have see you face to face. Thanks.
Looks like I'm saved.
No, Prabhu, you have put everything to such clear, sort of clarity. Everybody is now, they're really stunned to, oh, now you've proved everything. Now what to do next? They're already doing it, but it's a question of what more to ask. Sorry, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhu,
Hare Bol, Jai. Hare Bol, Jai. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhu, you always inspire us to get, you were talking about Ras. So when I hear you, I am always inspired to, look for that Ras, rather in otherwise it can be an intellectual pursuit, philosophy and understanding. So thank you for always bringing that out. But I just wanted to hear, like, I keep hearing philosophy and regularly, but we sometimes become not getting that rush, and sometimes like somebody like you comes and reminds us to So how to keep that on a day-to-day basis? There's so much, like you said, there is so much chappan bhog, but I'm not having the appetite sometimes. So you did mention about it, but just I wanted to hear on a day-to-day going through life to savor the rest of the Bhagavad process when we are low on dry.
Yes, Prabhuji. Very true, Prabhuji. True for me also. 100%. You are echoing not your question, but all of us, our question. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. But what I understand from Acharyas and everybody is the last most potent weapon we have is called prarthana. There is no more potent weapon than a sincere prayer. I don't know because your question is my question also. But what I've heard from Acharyas is that when everything fails, simple prarthana is the one which works. Because he's bhavgrahi janardana, they say. Prayer cannot be, prarthana cannot be turned away by Krishna. He doesn't have that flexibility. He has all the powers, but this power he does not have to turn away the prarthana. So we can see when Prabhupada was reaching USA, he wrote the poem that was his prarthana. We can see in Bhagavatam each of the devotees before Krishna appears, there is a prarthana. So as you rightly said, philosophy is one thing. See, when I heard from Vaishnavas, this parrot is there, no, you teach him Ram, Ram, Ram. But when the cat holds the neck of the parrot, that time he says Tai, Tai. Doesn't say Ram, Ram. So that is why we need this sadhu sangha, like now you are reminding this beautiful point. So that I understand from the previous acharyas that the ultimate is in a simple prayer. In Ramcharitmanas, Lord Ram tells, Nirmal jan man mohi pava, mohi kapat chal chidra na bhava. Only simple-hearted person can get me. Once I remember one of our god brothers, he asked His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj in Rajkot, Maharaj, is devotional service, Krishna realization, is it simple or it is complex? So Maharaj said, for a simple devotee it is simple, for a complex devotee it is complex. So, but one thing is for sure, that prarthana can do anything. So we all pray for each other, and surely Krishna does not have the power to turn down the prarthana. That's for sure. Hope it answers, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. I'll try to simplify myself.
Same here, Prabhuji. Same here.
Simple living, high thinking.
Harival. Jai.
Prabhuji, I have there are a few comments from Saraswati Mataji. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranams, Prabhuji. Thanks for the wonderful teachings and beautiful logical flow of knowledge and very absorbing and inspiring. Uttara Mataji writes that Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranams, Prabhuji. Thanks for scientifically making us understand by quoting from the scriptures. And Rukmini Rupamani Mataji, she says that Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranams, very well explained about Jivatma, Paramatma relationship. Very much inspirational class as usual. I just asked last time, any questions, comments, reflections before we can conclude today's session. And Prabhu, thank you for your association. We really like it very much. We look forward to it. So maybe we can come more often. So,
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity for serving all the Vaishnavas. Thanks to the temple management also. The devotees are like that. They don't keep the sevas. They only just distribute because they sincerely know Krishna is unlimited. So there is no scarcity. Everybody can have him. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
No, that's fine. So I think there are, since there are no further questions or comments, we'll just end the session with the Vaishnava Pranam. Vanchakalpataru, the passage good. Anantakoti Vaishnava ki jai.
Yeah.
Jai.
My Dandavats to you.
Raghuveer Krishna Prabhu ki jai. Thank you so
Ananta
much.
Koti
We look
Vaishnava.
forward to your association.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. I'll just end the session
Thank
now.
you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Jai Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Dandavad, Prabhuji.
Thank you all devotees for actively
Thank you,
participating.
Venugopal Prabhu.
Dandavats.
Thank you, Ravi Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.